From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
Welcome to You Should Know. I'm your host, Evelyn Ledbetter, and today I have the pleasure of having Dr. Stephanie Walker. She is a plant specialist from New Mexico State University and just has so much information for us. So, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming in from Las Cruces and spending some time with us today.
Thank you, Evelyn. I appreciate the invitation.
Well, we've had a long-term friendship and have just known people for years, and just thoroughly enjoy learning more from you every time we're around each other. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm the Extension Vegetable Specialist at New Mexico State University. So I'm based in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and I do a lot of vegetable trainings, vegetable research, but chili peppers have always been my passion. I've worked on chili peppers basically my whole career, whole adult life in various capacities.
And I believe you said you grew up in Pennsylvania but moved to Las Cruces at a young age?
Yes, I've been in Las Cruces since 1973. I had never eaten chili peppers in my life. I was slowly exposed to them through the excellent food we have here in New Mexico, and really grew to love eating as well as working with chili peppers.
And your background in education?
Yeah, so I got my bachelor's degree in biology, and from there I actually got a job at a local processing plant. It was the original old El Paso processing plant between Las Cruces and Texas. And there I really developed a love for chili peppers and really wanted to go on to graduate studies to work on chili pepper research. So after 10 years as a quality control supervisor, I was accepted into the breeding program under Paul Boslin at New Mexico State University. I got my master's in horticulture working on breeding for disease resistance and the genetics of breeding for disease resistance. I became a technician for a few years, and then I accepted the position of what is the Extension Vegetable Specialist. And while I was working that job, I got my PhD in agronomy, working in mechanical harvest aspects and considerations for chili peppers.
So even though you're the vegetable specialist, chili is actually a fruit.
Yes, it is. So botanically, chili is a berry, so it is horticulturally classified as a fruit, but by the USDA definition, how we use it, typically when we prepare dishes with chili, we consider it a vegetable.
Which I did have some raspberry green chili jam this weekend. So
that sounds delicious.
People are putting it in a lot of different things. Well, this is really cool. Just a little bit of the... I know we're basically here to talk about a variety that you have been very instrumental in developing, but can you give us just a short background of New Mexico State and their history of being part of a major player in the development of chili?
Yes, certainly. So although it's often referred to as Hatch chili, it's really New Mexico chili. And the New Mexico pod type chili, such as these, was actually first developed by Fabian Garcia, who was the very first head of the Ag Experiment Station at the New Mexico School of Agricultural and Mechanical Arts, that's now New Mexico State University. Okay. So Fabian Garcia actually started this pod type. Anaheim chili is really an offshoot of this. So Anaheim chili is really a type of New Mexico chili. So many people incorrectly refer to this as an Anaheim. But actually Anaheim should be referred to as a New Mexican type.
Well, and the whole deal of, even though it's grown in there's not a Hatch variety, it's a location, it's a location that it's grown. So you can have Hatch chili that's New Mexican chili, but you can't have New Mexican chili that's Hatch.
That's right. But because the Hatch area is a wonderful place to grow chili, yes. They've done a great job marketing their chili there, so the Hatch moniker is really stuck.
It is. They've done a stellar, so hats off to them. And all of y'all's work at New Mexico State who have just been a driving force in this.
Well, thank you. It's my passion as well as many of my colleagues' passion.
A lot of people, some people like to have their name on a building or something like that for posterity, to show their life's work. But we get to so many people enjoy your work every single day. So tell me the variety that you've helped develop. It's called a New Mex Odyssey, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So New Mex Odyssey. Here's a couple of fruit of New Mex Odyssey right here. This is it was developed to be a New Mexico green type that's efficient for mechanical harvest. So one real issue that growers here in New Mexico, as well as throughout the world, have had is getting enough labor for the relatively short harvest window to get those green chili off of the plants. And I've seen many sad cases where if the people weren't available, growers could not get the green chili out of the field in time. So in that case, it will mature to red, and oftentimes that's going to give you either less or no profit off of that crop. As well as red chili just typically is a cheaper crop in general, and some varieties don't dry well into a red product.
They have so much meat on them, they just don't dry down well.
Right, right.
The thickness, correct?
Exactly right. So what we wanted, so right now most of the red chili in New Mexico is mechanically harvested. It can take being beaten up, it can take getting broken because it's dehydrated into a flaked or powdered product. With green chili though, we don't want to break these fruit because it ruins the quality. They're going to start to degrade. We lose yield. So we want a variety that would stand up to mechanical harvesting more efficiently. Another issue we do have with mechanical harvest of green is we have to remove these pedicels, these stems, because if these go into the processing stream, they turn woody and actually becomes a quality and even a safety hazard.
I guess someone could choke on them?
Absolutely.
I mean, you just get that. I know if you accidentally get one that's made it through the processing, it's just a chunk of, I mean, to have a stem, a big thick stem in your mouth is not palatable.
Absolutely. I spent years reviewing consumer complaint letters, and people would talk about getting a fish hook, jammed in their mouth. So it really became one of my concerns from early on. We need to get those stems out of the product as best we can. And this continues to be a breeding goal. So New Mex Odyssey it destems efficiently, not easily though, but it mechanically harvests beautifully. Very, very little fruit damage on these. It strips the plants almost completely so that the plants can regenerate the second pick. So most green chili fields in New Mexico, they'll be harvested once, then the fruit will regenerate, and they get a second pick off it. Odyssey does this great. The plants are virtually undamaged by the mechanical harvest process.
I did not realize that the mechanically harvested could be done twice. I thought it tore up the vines and ruined them on the first harvesting.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Good.
Yes, very, very gentle.
Because the way
to the
it's so much
plant.
easier to come off.
Yes. Yeah, so we looked at many different aspects of what could impact mechanical harvest efficiency in green chili. And after many years of researching, many years of collecting different data points, we really found that what really made the biggest difference was getting the fruit set a little bit higher off the ground. If these are too low, they would just get run over by the picker head and crunched. Also, one single stem. There's a great variety of architecture and different chili varieties. And if you have one that's very bushy, the machines just tend to pull them out of the ground, and what they do pick, they'll just crunch up the stems and fruit all together. So single stem, a little bit higher fruit set off the ground, and then just the right fruit detachment. So these pop off, they stay on the plant till the machine, the picking head impacts them, but then they come off really, really efficiently.
So when it was decided, and was there I'll ask this, who all was on the team that developed this stuff?
So I've worked with so many. So this was more than 10 years in development. So I had many groups of students, different technicians that worked with me over the years. But the one person I really started out with, and he stayed with me through it all, was Dr. Paul Funk at the USDA ARS labs. So he was really working on different picking heads to see if he could come up with better mechanisms, better mechanical harvesters, and I was developing the plant at the same time. So him and we visited many growers' fields and just tore up a lot of chili looking at this.
With that in mind, you wanted to develop something that could mechanically be harvested. So the characteristics is probably one of the first steps that you start working in research is like, what do we want? What are we looking for?
Yeah, I guess in this, so that's definitely important. But for this, first of all, we wanted to see, so what is the best picker? Which one can we use that will most gently pick the green chili without damage to the fruit, damage to the plants? So after several years of tests, we discovered that an inclined double helix, so it's like two springs, they're inclined, they just go on either side of that plant spinning, and then they pop the fruit off onto conveyor belts on either side. And after looking at many different pickers, that was the best.
That's the one.
The second was, are any of our currently available commercial varieties there? I mean, will these mechanically pick well? I talked to many folks over the years who thought if you get the right picker, it will pick anything. And we found that, yeah, you can pick anything, but you're going to get a lot more damage, a lot more issues if you don't have a plant and fruit that have also been developed to work with that machine.
Well, and the consistency. I mean, this is a lumbre and a sandia and a big gem. So the difference of the size on that big gem versus if you have the consistency of the Odyssey.
Yeah, and so in general, we would tend to break more of these really big pods. I mean, many people, especially for high-quality Rihanna, you want a big pod, but these would tend to get broken and clipped more by the picking mechanism,
Sure.
at least the one we're currently working with. So Odyssey, it also had a good, they're good firm size,
Right.
thick-meated, and they just are the right size to work with this double helix machine to have very, very minimal damage when these are picked.
And what is the heat variety on the Odyssey?
So even though a lot of people love their hot chili, I absolutely understand that. Most people prefer mild.
Right.
About 80% of the chili here in New Mexico does go to processors, and the vast majority of what is processed is mild. So Odyssey is a great flavor. It has good New Mexico chili flavor. Just a pinch of heat, a little bit of heat, but for the most part, they're very, very mild, about 300 to 400 Scoville heat units.
So that can be a great chili, and then if you want some extra spice, you could put in one of the other varieties to heat it up a little.
This is a good starter chili as you build up your love
Your tolerance.
and tolerance for heat, yes.
So tell me okay, red probably does not bring in as much money. Do you think in the New Mexico industry, red chili is not your moneymaker as much as the green?
Yes, I'd agree with that. Yeah, typically
So-
red is, just not, the receipts aren't there for the red chili as much as the green.
And I know in my studies where we did have up to 32,000 acres of chili in New Mexico at one time, we're down to about a little over 8,000. The opportunity with the mechanization of this variety, could that possibly increase the production in New Mexico and bring that back?
I don't know if we'll ever get to the
that level.
level above 30,000 acres, mainly because back then it was like the chili gold rush in the state. And this is exactly when I joined the industry, and growers were growing chili year after year in the same field, and that's just a recipe for disaster with disease issues and other things. So I don't necessarily know whether we're going to get over 30,000 acres again, but this can certainly, by mechanizing the crop, can bring acreage back and keep acreage here, because the lack of labor is one of the key things that's constraining the growth of the chili industry
So it may
here.
not increase the acreage, but production could be increased greatly
Absolutely.
by that, because you can get most of the crop picked
Yes.
within that time limit of August to October.
Absolutely, relatively short window for green, and that's another reason probably that red chili is not quite as valuable, because it can sit out there in the field, turn red, it can even freeze, and you can still go and get your crop.
Okay.
Green chili, really short harvest window.
Right.
You got to get in there and get it out of the field
Right.
before it turns red.
Okay, so walk me through. I know nothing about development of a variety. How do you go about breeding a chili plant to do what you want it, to get what you want from it?
Yeah, so my program has completely used traditional breeding. So there's no molecular techniques that we've used at all with this. Originally what I did is while my colleague Dr. Paul Funk was looking at machines, I was looking at varieties. I looked at a lot of different varieties to see if any would come close to giving a good efficient harvest. And the one that was closest was New Mex Joe Parker. So it wasn't a widely grown variety, but it's known for its great flavor. It did have that more single stems. The fruit were a bit off the ground. The fruit were on the outside of the canopy. So I thought, well, that one's pretty good, but it's not great. We still have too much field loss, too much breakage with it. At the time, I was really concerned about destemming, though. So I took a Joe Parker selection out of the field, and I did a controlled cross-pollination with an easy destemming line. So it was a different type of green chili, different attributes. And what you do is the first year when you cross those two different parents, you basically get the F1 or hybrid line. And if you buy hybrid chili seed, that's what it is. It's a cross of these two different families. If you're doing traditional breeding and trying to develop an open pollinated variety, what you do is you increase that seed to the second generation and the third generation, and then that gives you a wide variety of plants that have characteristics of both of those original parents. So I did these, I got them to the F3s, and I grew out hundreds of small plots. And I went through plot by plot, year after year, looking for which are the plants that have more single stems, fruit off of the plant. And at that point, I wasn't even really looking at the fruit detachment that much. That came into play. We actually had some lines that looked really good, and we tested them with the machine. And once we actually had our own one-row inclined double helix machine, we were able to test, did we pick out the plots that had the best plants? And it came down to 3 lines that gave us a really just remarkable, efficient mechanical harvest with minimal damage to the fruit, hardly any damage to the plants, and just it was poetry in motion seeing that.
So you take the plants that are the traits you want, and then you gather the seed from those.
Yes.
And then you grow those, plant those with other plants and hope to grow out something that's similar and continue to grow that year after year.
Exactly.
Is that right? In layman's terms, really simple?
Yeah, and in some cases, very often you'll have to back cross also. So if you're after a particular trait, you'll go back and you'll do a back cross to the original parent you liked. In this case, it really was just generating different combinations of the traits from these 2 parents. And then, you go through a few years of selecting the best of the best each year. And then you get to the point where it's a fairly uniform population, and then you start roguing. If there's just weird off-type plants, you take them out, you produce the seed with protected pollination so you don't get unusual, unusual genes in there.
Is this with the netting?
Yes.
So that keeps the pollens from getting to the plant. You don't want them to.
Yeah, many people think that chili peppers only self-pollinate, but it's not true. If there's pollinators around, bees or other insects will bring pollen from other annums. So it's capsicum annum is our New Mexico green chili. Jalapenos are capsicum annum. Cayenne are capsicum annum. Ornamentals are capsicum annum, many of them. So if you get pollen from these other types mixed in with your seed increase plot, it really wreaks havoc with your with your seed.
So once you got the plant like you wanted, is that when you started breeding it with the fruit characteristics that you wanted? Was it in conjunction?
It was all simultaneous, yeah.
But 10 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Are these being grown? Are farmers growing them at this point?
Yes, they've been slowly introduced around the state. The first couple years, it was actually Mesilla Valley Chili bought the rights to grow this seed out. So they now, their own seed increases. I do help them go out and just check to make sure that conditions are right. If there's any off types, we pull them out. But they didn't really have that much seed to start. So when you start with breeder seed, it's just a few pounds. And so it takes a couple years to really blow that up to where you have enough seed to sell to commercial growers. And so this past year, maybe this coming year, is really the first time there's going to be large quantities of the seed available. And
define large quantities.
So for chili growers, typically they'll plant about 4 pounds of seed per acre. So if you're a grower who has 20 acres of seed, you need 20 times 4.
Can I ask what the cost of that is per pound?
I'm not sure what they're selling it for. I think it's probably about 100 to 200 pounds.
So that little bag of seed is some of that pricey when it's per pound.
Yeah.
Okay.
But still, it's still a bargain.
Right.
So hybrid seed that's actually produced by hand in foreign countries where they do have a lot of inexpensive labor sells for more than $3,000 a pound. So so getting seed for $100 to $200 a pound, especially if it's a high quality variety like Odyssey, it's quite a bargain.
This can be quite a controversial topic, but the GMO chili, there's not a GMO chili.
There's not a GMO chili, absolutely not.
A GMO plant, though, is developed genetically in the labs, correct?
Yeah, so a GMO chili so there is no GMO chili. A GMO crop is something that they take a gene from a different species that wouldn't normally naturally cross-pollinate, and through laboratory techniques get that gene or group of genes into the plant to do something that you wouldn't normally see in nature.
Okay, so it's forcing, basically you're doing pollination it wouldn't do in nature, but it's almost like you're creating what those characteristics you want.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not doing weird things in there.
Absolutely not. In fact, quite the contrary. A lot of people think that this is an unproven, risky thing, but it's absolutely not. These crops are very safe. Mm-hmm. The only reason they've gone through this process is because there's some great benefit you're getting by transferring that genetics into the plant. And some crops are more amenable to this than others. And I will also say that just in nature, mutations do weird things in crops and animals.
Sure.
So if you look at enough plants, you can find a lot of strange things that happen. But this is kind of forcing something to happen quickly.
I
more
guess you and I are
quickly.
both mutant. I mean, blonde hair and blue eyes. That's not the common traits that happen. It's just kind of a fluke.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, the same thing, but
Environmental conditions at one point caused our ancestors to not need dark pigments to
Right.
protect from the sun. And so, yeah.
so those characteristics. But on this one, where it was done in the field, so the benefits of the GMO is that it accelerates that process much quicker, right, versus in the field.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, to look for a mutation could be a really long-term process, just looking at millions and millions of plants. But yeah, it's just disturbing because it's a really miraculous technique, and it's been demonized unfairly.
Are there any characteristics of the Odyssey that are beneficial as far as, from what you've talked about, like pest or water issues or things, that is not looked at as heavily, is it?
Yeah, so I will say that it was just kind of a great thing about Odyssey. It's a really vigorous plant. So, when you can have that seed plant and just quickly burst out of the ground, and Odyssey it just really has good germination, good plant vigor early in the season. And really, any of the New Mexico varieties that have done well here in New Mexico for year after year, they've developed tolerance to a lot of the diseases and disorders we have in the state. So Odyssey has that. It hasn't been specifically bred, though, for any disease resistances. I actually am working on a project right now with some colleagues who are trying to put Phytophthora capsicum, or chili wilt resistance, into Odyssey. Because really, those are the two biggest constraints on chili production in the state right now, is labor issues and some diseases like Phytophthora capsicum. So if we can get mechanical harvest efficiency with disease resistance, we have done an amazing thing for New Mexico chili lovers.
The perfect storm in a good way. So this was developed more probably for the processors for big production versus like just a little farmer that wants to roast a few chilies on the roadside stand.
Yeah, originally it was mainly because the equipment, the harvest equipment's quite expensive. So the original machine we were working with was a full-size double helix machine. So we would take huge areas out of the field. We were actually able to get a one-row machine built so we could do plot work. And really, this one-row machine would work great for small growers.
Sure.
In fact, it's disturbed me because the small growers are having the same issues the big guys are with getting labor out to pick their crop. And even since I started working in this, I've been contacted by countries, growers throughout the world, people who think, why would you worry about mechanically harvesting if you're in this country where you have all these people just looking for work, working for relatively low wages, but it's an issue everywhere they're growing chili.
Well, and agriculture, there's only X amount of farmland in the world.
Yeah.
But we continue to increase population. So those are, you need more food.
Absolutely. But I really do think, so Odyssey with mechanical harvest, especially if you had small growers share a machine or kind of do a co-op type thing, I think it would work great. And there is that initial investment, though, to get that equipment.
We're getting shorter on time, but what has the response been from consumers that eat these?
I'm so thrilled. So originally we were looking for something that was a good flavored, mild green chili. People love the flavor. They love the fact it also makes a great red chili, so it dries down very well. So we really have a dual-purpose chili, which for many years breeders didn't really work on dual purpose. But traditionally in New Mexico, getting a green chili crop and then letting the remainder of the fruit turn red was the way we always did it. And it's good because this way, if for some reason you can't harvest your green chili, if the processor's not ready to take it for some reason, you can still get a pretty good return on your red chili crop.
At least you can
with
do the
Odyssey.
red chili and have good luck.
Yeah, it dries down. It doesn't rot in the field.
They always say that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I think that that describes you perfectly.
I agree. Thank you, Evelyn. I appreciate that.
Well, and I've been to things where you've been out in the fields and doing the growing, and I just love watching you at work, and you can just see the exuberance and and the thrill of finding new things. I think it should have been the New Mex Stephanie. But I'll think of you every time I eat this.
Well, thank you. Yes, I always worry that yes, it jinxed to name Chiles after somebody, but hopefully I'm wrong about that.
Well, Stephanie, always a pleasure. Appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule and driving here and coming on the show and teaching us about Odyssey and all the work behind it.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation very much.
Well, hopefully we'll have you back another time.
I'd love to.
And for all of you watching, thank you, and we will see you next time. Cheers.